Well, as you know, I don't actually pump too much in a doom and gloom way to the severe method that a lot of other people do. So let me just start out this video with I survived Y2K, bird flu, mad cow disease, 911, swine flu, 9/20/2012. Bring it on! You know, whatever the hell else coming up next. We'll also include Ebola and whatever else, and the Zeta virus. And I got actually gonna say more about some of these diseases and stuff. I think a lot of them are being manufactured. And, when we're talking, I know, like, why do people really get silver coins? Hey, it's all about survival. It's not all about, the money exactly, but there's a medical survival method behind the silver, too. And I think a lot of people are ignoring that, and you don't realize how that can create such a demand for silver that can actually help people, but it would still bring the price way the hell up. I don't know if we really wanted to part with too much silver, but if some people that are freaking got a lot of change, like a guy that makes $18 billion in 3 months, like Jeff Bezos, that's a recent headline out here. I'm like, who the hell makes $18 billion in 3 months without stealing it? I have to say something about the filthy rich here, because when you're a producer and you actually make that kind of money and you're doing something for humanity, that's one thing. When you're just making that money, or somehow you're hoarding that money, you're stealing it. So anyway, I also got to state this. I don't want to put a big dampener on this election coming up, because I do think this election is going to have a lot to do with how the country is going to turn out. I don't think Donald Trump is going to be able to make America great again, but he's probably going to be able to slow down the New World Order somewhat, which is good. But I think they're going to crash the hell out of the economy if he gets in. That's one thing that's bad, and I don't know how many people realize that or are going to be aware of that. The world's greatest liar might make it in office, Hillary Clinton, and the reason I'm saying that is for another reason. I should probably put a separate video out on this, but this is all related to the economy and the direction things are going to be going in the world, and it's actually going to have a lot of effect on the price of silver and the price of commodities and the general well-being of people in across the earth, even not just in the United States. But one of the reasons I think she might get in power, a lot of people don't realize, since the year 2008 and 2009, when we had the big economic recession, the power of government, in other words, the number of people that work for government, has increased exponentially. Not only that, but their paychecks have increased exponentially. There's a large actual, I guess you would say, it's like a lobbyist, a political action committee, more or less. Anybody that works for the government probably is not going to be too much on the bandwagon for Trump for the most part. And I saw some statistics, something like almost half the people that work for the government say they hate him. And I'm thinking, well, that's those people plus their families are going to vote for Hillary Clinton to keep their jobs secure. We actually have not the government per se against us, but all the people that have financial interest by getting six-digit figure salaries working for the government, and their families will vote for Hillary Clinton to keep that going. It's going to be an interesting election. I hope not to put a dampener on things, but who the hell knows with all the price, the rigging of votes and all that type of stuff. Now, I never saw this protester before, but I found this picture and I said, "Whoa, this is pretty interesting." The hungry eat a banker. That might be the ticket of to keep away from starvation in the future if something really goes wrong. There's always plenty of bankers out there, and they're probably pretty plump too. So that's something to think about. I'm just kidding, but it's a pretty interesting sign. I never saw a protester with that sign, but that pretty much states it right there. Go back to the real old school, put them in a pot with some parsley leaves and cook them, right? Anyway, that's a happy thought. Now, the title of my video here is about, we're in a virtual reality on the economy. And, you know what's interesting, too, besides this? Now, you do know about I think you probably heard of this website, shadowstats.com, about the unemployment figures are really so much, and the economy is this, and I know I mentioned about the Baltic Dry Index, the shipping in the world being very low, hitting record lows, crashes in construction in China, um, exports from China hitting new lows, also banking crises, and now China does affect the world economy besides us. The other thing is the strong dollar in the United States has affected our exports. Also, the PE ratios, the price earnings ratios, are in a territory now where the stock market would be in a hyper bubble, right? Even though it hasn't really crashed yet. Maybe it will. I don't know. It's taken a hell of a long time for it to crash. And I know recently, the other day, the commodities, all the metals got slammed. They've been going up a little bit today, but it seems like the general trend is since the beginning of the year, though, gold has been going very good. But there's something else when I'm talking about we're living in a virtual reality. For instance, I know I have to rehash some of this other stuff first about the railroads. The railroad traffic is very low. They've been laying off conductors. The first quarter earnings of 2016 are very, very bad. Retail sales are very bad. But here's something else. Do you know what the hedge funds, out of the top 10 hedge funds this year, or last year actually, the last most recent data, out of the top 10 hedge funds, the majority, 6 out of 10 are of those top 10 have been run primarily on computer software to beat the markets. No longer is it being, human driven by the alpha male that's taking risk and getting out there and, I'm going to beat the markets and I got the number one hedge fund. They're actually hiring more and more people that are programmers and computer software engineers or whatever in Wall Street than they are people that really understand finance because of the way things are, which tells me it's almost like an electronic house of cards. I don't think it's going to last, man. I'm using common sense here. I mean, it's like I'm telling you some gems of facts about what's really going on in the economy, but you got to look past that and look at the reality beyond the smoke screens. We're going down an alleyway here, and we think everything's la di da di da with the economy, but we can't really see what the hell's on the end of the alleyway. And I think there's some really bad times coming up because when somebody, like I said, when somebody makes billions and billions of dollars, certain people are making billions and billions of dollars, but they're not actually producing anything. They're just hoarding. They're getting this money. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking it out of the economy. But that's really what they're doing, or creating it out of thin air somehow. That's why actually most of the most wealthy people in this country, the 1% of 1%, the 1 basis point, are actually very close to the banking and finance sector because the whole system is rigged. What I think, though, and what's going to be happening is when this implodes, we're probably going to go back to an older time. Even transportation is going to change. Maybe we're going to be riding around on an ox, for crying out loud, and tilling the soil that way. But I think it's survivable as long as people roll up their sleeves and they're not afraid to adapt with change. I know, I've been looking at a lot of things that even happened in this country, the history of the United States, and I also looked at, what happened with the Native American Indians. Actually, there was a lot of adapting and change going on with them too. Even when the horse, that was something they picked up on, and also livestock and different things. But we might have to go back the other way temporarily before we can go more high tech again, because I think high tech has actually outpaced itself in the world in some ways. Everything's predicated upon like the last minute delivery or just in time delivery. Everything is like dependent upon electricity too. Our nationwide power structure, power grid system is pretty damn vulnerable, and I wonder why they don't harden this system, or even sell cars that are hardened against EMP attacks. They could do this they do this all the time in the military. Those vehicles are hardened against EMP attacks, or even EMP from solar flares. I just think it's just going to take one incident that's going to send us back to the Stone Age again. I freaking shouldn't laugh about this crap, but that's just how it's going to be. If you're saving your money in the piggy bank like this person is here, you notice they're putting a silver bullion, 99.9% or 99.99% pure silver bullion coin in the piggy bank. And the other stuff that's out there with the little fiat paper I think it's just going to be paper notes. That's all it is. Paper's paper, and that's what it is. And if it's not backed, it's backed by U.S. government debt, as you know the old damn saying. What the hell is it going to be worth in the future? But I have to tell you that some things, I don't think the spirit of America is still there. By the way, Budweiser, I got to plug this in here, man. That's not a plug for Budweiser. But I know Budweiser's been on hard times recently. I don't know what happened. Like, it's not a GQ beer anymore or something. It used to be like, have a Bud, But they might be changing their can to America with U.S. on it instead of Anheuser-Busch with the AB. They're going to have U.S. on it. That might be a freaking thing that might be a winner, too. A can of beer which says America on it. Who the hell knows? I know one thing, whether the times are good or whether times are bad. There's one thing that's always a big seller out there is alcoholic spirits. And, if you can run your car on it, if it has enough proof that you can run your car on it, and you can make that grain alcohol out there in a farm and run a car on it, well, guess what? You'll probably be in business during bad economic times, because if people don't have transportation to use the fuel in, they could probably drink it and forget about their bad economic times. That's one industry that actually stays afloat whether times are good or bad. People always drink. Isn't that true? Prohibition never worked too. They couldn't outlaw it, right? It was always there. And but most people, I think, are going to be very lethargic and not do the job they need to do. And those are the people that are going to be a big problem. Really, I don't like putting out as many of these silver videos. I have been doing some here and there, but it's usually when I could dig out some more facts. I've really found it very interesting that recently the hedge funds that did the best are ones that are driven by computers and programmers, not by people. And it's telling me the whole market's just like a computer-driven farce. Everything in the stock market today is being held up by Federal Reserve policy and web bots trading with each other. And it's I don't know if I just can't predict the future, but it's like we had in 1993 we had a World Trade Center bombing, and then we had in 9/11 2001 we had the Twin Towers come down in Building 7, which didn't get hit by a plane. I just think that in the future, when they can't keep this, Ponzi scheme going, because that's all the damn stock market is, they're going to have an event to use, a deliberate event, that's going to cover why it went down. The whole thing just caved in. And there's all the underlying reasons are already there. It's not like our economy's totally imploded. And I don't want to actually make it sound like it's doom and gloom and hopeless. I don't want to make that sound that way. I'm just saying that they're throwing a virtual reality at us, and that's what we're looking at. It's all smoke and mirrors. But it's not saying that you can't turn it around in 2 seconds. In other words, what you produce on your own, especially with cottage industry, individuals doing things, or very small businesses performing a function that's vital for other people, that's actually what's going to make everything run. Now, the wealthy might wind up getting hit really bad here. Like you might see the guy in a top hat riding the motorcycle with the lady on the back, and he's no longer driving the Bugatti or the Rolls or the Austin Martin or whatever the hell these guys ride. You might be going back a couple notches. You might see the wealthy take some really big hits too. Because I realize that the wealthy have put all their money in premium assets like special commercial real estate in the best parts of the city, um, jewelry, collectible coins, artwork, um, things that they really have no exit strategy out of these assets. They have to hold them. They've been going up, 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 but it's like that became a Ponzi scheme in itself, and it's in a bubble itself. There's been rapid price inflation, not consumer price inflation, but asset price inflation in premium investable assets, because that's where the money from the wealthy have gone into, and that's where the Federal Reserve stimulus money went into the wealthy, not the regular people, not into wages of people. So, but they can get upside down too, because I think a lot of stuff they're invested in is in a bubble. It's like they had the stock, and the stock market is in the bubble itself too. That's one of the main things they invested into. We're probably going back to an earlier time. Now, I like showing the motorcycle a lot of times because actually, the motorcycle does remind me of the Old West and the American spirit of freedom. It reminds me of not only the individual cowboy, which was kind of a romanticized image they have today, which was not so easy to do. And I can tell you one thing, riding a motorcycle is not so easy to do. And actually, every time I get on a motorcycle, I think to myself, I could die. I don't like think of it too serious, but I keep it in mind like it's almost like going out in a battlefield every time you're in. I don't care what the traffic is, because there's always some idiot out there. It's not all romanticized, but the only way you actually get things done in the real world is to do it as an individual and take risks and strive and try to climb to the top of the mountain. Nobody's going to just throw you a rope and there it is and use an elevator or whatever. That's in a social society where you get hookups from the elite, and that's not going to be the way it is for most people. Most people are going to have to strive to get to the top. It's not going to be easy, but the thing is, when you're doing stuff on your own, it's actually a benefit to not just yourself, but to other people, because you got to have something that you're exchanging to, if you're making a profit on something, you have to exchange that for somebody else is giving you money or whatever in exchange for that is benefiting them in some way, in some fashion. Now, I also have to say something about I've been mentioning a little bit about I have a lot of health videos on my channel. I haven't been doing too many lately. I'm going to be doing another. I just did one yesterday, a little bit about some alkaline and acidic foods to clear some misconceptions up. But I'm going to be doing a couple more here pretty soon too. But I also want to say that when I look at some of the elitist plans, without getting too far down a conspiracy rabbit hole, some of the things that are out there are blatantly right in our face. Like you look on the Georgia Guidestones in Georgia that were erected in 1980 on, I think it was May, what the hell was that date again? It's, I forgot the damn date. It's, March 22, 322, which is the Illuminati skull and bones number. It's actually right on the stones. But they have there that the population in the United States, or population of the world, excuse me, is going to be maintained below 500 million, which means over 80% of the people in this world would be dead. Now, I have to relate that to something else that happened in this country, in the Americas. And, when I'm looking at, I put this earlier on in the video about, we survived Ebola, bird flu, 911, the Y2K, 2012, and all this bullshit, right? But, some of those things that are out there, like bird flu, Ebola, I think even the Zeta virus or whatever, I think some of that stuff is being pushed by New World Order policies to reduce the population, although they're not being successful, but they're trying to hit the population on a number of fronts. If you look at what happened to the American Native Indian in the United States, I know a lot of people have their, and I'm relating to this, in the case of the American Native Indian, it wasn't really I think there's one instance where it was a deliberate policy to get rid of American Indians by plague, but there was one early incident where they gave um, American Native Indians blankets with yellow fever. But by and large, the vast majority, it just happened with the vast majority of Native American Indians, where people got yellow fever, um, cholera, uh, bubonic plague, measles, even STDs like syphilis. All this came from Europe. Um, and it's estimated between 80 and 90% of all American Indians, American Native Indians, it doesn't matter what tribe it was, it could be, the Choctaw or the Choctaw, the Cherokee, the Seminole, the civilized tribes or whatever, the more warlike tribes like the Cherokee or the Comanche or the Sioux, um, they were basically destroyed by disease. Now, I think one of the biggest dangers coming up, and this is related to silver now too, and where silver could take off in price, but also in function. But I also want to give you a moral lesson in this too. The American Native Indians were destroyed mainly by white man disease. If the diseases didn't get them, I think if the American Indians and Native Indians got defeated by the white man, the so-called reservations in this country would probably be about 10 times bigger at least. I guarantee you that, because they estimated the American native population in this country was actually larger than what was in all of Europe at the time Columbus discovered America. Just talking about in the United States. Nobody knows exactly, but there's a lot of ranges, but at least 20 million, easy, easy. But probably maybe 80 or 90 million or more. Um, but I have to state that one of the things you can do to help prevent disease, and it's not perfect. I do not claim that colloidal nano silver is going to stop diseases left and right inside the body, but there's applications you can do that can help, and also disinfecting clothes, foods that you eat. In other words, you put a little colloidal silver in something you drink or something that you are going to eat, and you let it sit for 30 minutes or whatever, and let the colloidal silver kill whatever germs are in there. Germs, not actual chemical poisons, but just germs. It could do the job. And also, it could even have good function in the body, like through um, a cool air mister that uses like a vapor mister that's designed to put medicines in. You could put colloidal silver in there, and it can get directly on your lungs if you have infections in your lungs. It can help with soreness of the throat. It can also help within the body too, somewhat. Not as perfect as some people think it does, but it does help. But if every person in the United States, say we got 313 million people, say every single person had 2 ounces of silver, 700 million ounces of silver approximately, right? That's about a whole year's production of silver for the whole world. Now, if you consider what part of silver is not used in industry, I think it's like 39% is industrial, and there's mirrors and other things. That's really more like an 8+ year available supply of silver, just if everybody in America had 2 ounces, just for medicinal purposes. And I'd say that's a real minimum if you're going to be making gallons of colloidal silver, nano silver. I think that the elite plan to get rid of people through diseases. That's why they have the food banks and all this stuff underground. With the American Native Indian, it happened it happened. I mean, there was a couple instances where it was deliberately put on American Indians, but for the most part, for the vast majority of the part, it happened by just being spread from the white man inadvertently. And if that did not happen, actually, I'd say probably at least 25% of this country, easy, would still be, under control of American Native Indians. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is because it goes to show you how devastating disease can actually destroy a population. And considering that the elite have flat out told us through the Georgia Guidestones they want the population below 500 million, Wow, that's like right in your face. But when I look at something like silver, it's not that hard. I mean, there's methods you can make silver, better quality silver with, nano silver with uh, electronic means are more complicated, but you can pretty much do it with a few batteries and make a decent quality batch. Not that bad. It's got some effect, and you can use solar panels to recharge the batteries. And if you have a couple ounces of silver, um, you could make loads of freaking colloidal silver, and you could easily make distilled water from boiling water, and just having an excess boiled steam that hits like plastic run off into a jar. So I mean, even if you didn't have any electricity, you could always make colloidal silver, right? A lot of people are ignoring this like crazy, though. There's a lot of other stuff that's out there that's great, like vitamin C, vitamin D, also some of the herbs that are out there. But silver's like really super simple for like medicinal purposes, right? I'm bringing this up because you know if everybody bought a couple ounces in the United States, oh God, the price would blow up through the roof. Now, is that good for people that invest in silver? Yeah, but you know what? It's good for everybody because it's going to help everybody survive. And I also want to mention something else about, you know, I don't want to, I don't want to like, idealize the American Native Indian too much because I know there's good and bad, and the white settlers were good and bad. I mean, it's like that with everybody, right? I mean, nobody's like all good and all bad, right? But there's one thing that I always liked about, and it's not like it happened all the time, but largely there was like a communal type of spirit amongst the American Native Indians. In other words, if somebody was hungry, you would give them food. Now, how many times do you see people starving that are beggars, that are real beggars out there in the street, and nobody gives them crap here in the United States, right? In major cities, when you're walking by New York City, you got a stockbroker, probably made $100 million last year, and there's people out there freaking starving to death, right? Dying, right? I mean, it's not like, I don't want to make it even look like some of these people that are actually in a bad situation, partly probably, it's not, it's a case by case thing. But the American Indian, Native American Indian, by and large, had that communal spirit where they made sure nobody starved in their tribe. I mean, yeah, they went to war with each other and stuff like that. I know that. But I mean, it wasn't like that simple. I don't want to put it that simple. But, that's a concept we actually got to get back to here into the United States. Thinking about money too much is bad medicine, okay? It really is. So I think that when we think about good medicine, we ought to think about silver as medicine. And it will drive the price of silver way up if everybody had to get a couple ounces of silver for medicine, just in the United States alone. Now, if everybody in China had to get silver for a couple ounces of silver, even 1 ounce, it wouldn't be enough silver in this earth to go around, period. Because when we were talking about, say, 700 million ounces, that's like the global production of silver for a whole year, of which a large percent of that is being used for industry. It's not available for just buying and holding like for investment. Only a small percentage of that is. So you're talking maybe 8 years or more of global production when you're talking even 700 million ounces that would be available just to hold for investment or for medical purposes. But I think it's absolutely essential that people get on this bandwagon because not the same way exactly as what happened to the American Native Indian, whereby the white man didn't, they realized they were bringing diseases, but it was like, what the hell? I mean, I'm here, it's in my body somewhere, and it jumps out and gets on the Indian somehow. I don't know how the hell it got on them exactly, but just any kind of contact through trading posts or whatever, and it happened, right? But in the future, I think the global elite are planning to kill us all off. Period. Why do I say that? It's not something I'm dreaming up. It's written in stone. Stone that cost over $20 million back in 1980 in the form of the Georgia Guidestones. They ain't kidding. They're right in your face. They're telling you what you're gonna do, what they're gonna do. And one of the simplest things you could do to combat that, because I think the way they're going to do it through mainly is disease, is through silver. Now, it's not a be-all miracle cure of everything. It does destroy all pathogens in a petri dish, but in a body, it gets a hell of a lot more complicated than that. But it can help. It can help. But it's also, there's other things you could do. Like if you have a urinary tract infection, there's ways to cleanse the bladder through catheters and things like that with colloidal silver that can totally knock out that infection inside of a day. Excuse me, I'm getting tired of talking here. But you're probably getting tired of listening. But it's also the same thing even with lung infections. You could do that, and I have researched a lot of this stuff, and it takes me a long time to sift through who is full of it and who is not full of it, because I found out, I know the major medical doesn't like this kind of information, and the alternative people are out there trying to sell you something, which I'm not trying to sell you any damn thing, and they're exaggerating how damn good the stuff is. But yeah, it's worth it. For a couple ounces of silver, what's going to cost you maybe $35 or so. That'll be a smart thing to do for sure. But not everybody's going to even do that. Right now it's $35. But if people start figuring out that the only survivors out there are the ones that have colloidal silver, the main survivors, there's going to be a run on that stuff left and right. And that's another factor that's, not thought about. It's amazing they leave that out of the equation. They just think of it as an investment. They don't think of it as a survival tool. God, it's amazing. I mean, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. Only as an investment. A couple dollars, make some greenbacks, they're great. How about just living and being alive, because silver kills biological agents? Importantly is that if you have food that's in doubt, or drink or water that's in doubt, not that it's going to take out the chemicals, but if it's got germs in it, and you put that colloidal silver in and you let it sit 30 minutes and stir it up, it's going to kill those germs, right? It'll work like that. So, I mean, it's something I think if there's an actual serious emergency in this country, like we have a major grid down of the electrical system, our electrical power grid, hey, all the water in this country is going to be suspect, because none of the water purification systems are going to work. I mean, I'm not going to have a problem because I got a well, I don't care about that. But I got plenty of silver too. And I got plenty of batteries, and I got solar panels, and I got electricity through generators and diesel fuel. So I'm not worried about it in the least. But, it's another aspect, and I just think that the more they talk about how we're doing so well because so-and-so made 10 or $20 billion in the last several months, like, the guy stole the money, far as I'm concerned. He's a vacuum cleaner. He just stole it from the public. He didn't produce nothing. Or that these hedge funds now are nothing but run by computers and programmers now. These are the big top fund hedge fund winners, that they're run by computers. It's almost reminding me of like a Ponzi scheme, house of cards. No real wealth is being created. It's all a virtual reality. It's BS, man. So I hope I gave you a good common sense update here, I'm not trying to scare people or anything like that, and boy, I hope Hillary don't win, but I'm always thinking that, I got to go repeat that again. She's got a major lobby for her. You're not just thinking about the people that are, I know, like, a lot of, commonly some people think about people that are not working for the government but are getting government assistance. That's where a lot of her support might be. But I think people actually working for the government that are governmental employees, which has dramatically increased under the Obama administration, not only in governmental employee numbers but also pay. Their pay has went up dramatically, plus their benefits. They're not going to vote for Trump. because Trump, I don't think he's going to cut any domestic spending to people that need it for food assistance or housing assistance. I don't think he's going to cut that at all. But I know where he's going to cut. He's going to cut the size of the government down itself, the actual people employed by the government. And you know what? They're the biggest lobby going, not the ones that are freaking getting some food assistance or. So you know who these people are in the government largely are going to vote for? Hillary Clinton. And you know how many people work for the government today? When you actually take them plus their families, it's like freaking 1/3 of the eligible voters out there, for crying out loud. That's why she's got a strong chance of winning, because they're going to vote to freaking perpetuate their freaking jobs. Nobody's thinking of that, so I'm telling you that right now. And I wish I put the facts out here, but the exact numbers of how many more people are in the government, doesn't matter if she's a liar. She's going to protect those jobs and those fat paychecks that went up exponentially over in the Obama administration. Nobody's talking about that crap. And she's got a possibility to win it. I hate to say it, but if she wins, I just say bring it on, man. I might raise the. I think I'm going to raise the Florida state flag and secede from the Union. The hell with it, man. Maybe that was the Confederate flag, I think, way back when. Secede from the Union. The hell with it, man. We're not going to recognize you, bitch, as. And actually, I think it's pretty much up in the air as to if she's gonna, between her and Trump, which is another swing state. This state here in Florida is a swing state too. So, anyway, I don't want to tell you that stuff, but sorry, that's the reality of the situation. And but like I say, bring it on. We'll survive, right? That's the way it goes. And some of my other videos probably will give you some more practical tips on, I don't know, little things that might save you a couple bucks here and there. And that's the type of stuff I'm sticking with on YouTube. I know it's far more lucrative to put out like 10 biggest, stupid things people do, or 10 biggest dumb hairstyles, or I don't know, you know what I mean? 10 worst tattoos, or whatever, I mean, I'm not going to do that type of stuff because that's nonsense. And if people are actually into that, that's what the majority of people are into. I know that's the most lucrative thing to do on YouTube. Right now, I think in the future it's going to be very different, though, when people are actually worried about what's going to happen to them in the future. Probably looking at some of the stuff I'm putting out. I'm avoiding that type of stuff, although I know it's more lucrative. Okay? So I am doing this for a civic purpose too, besides, believe it or not. Okay? And I do work in the CPA firm sometimes, and to tell you the truth, those people in there they make me want to throw up, between the brokers and the attorneys and some of the doctor clients. They're a bunch of phony, load of shit, to say the least. Skata, you want to use that word instead? And I do not want to be involved. I don't like it. I don't like it. So if I want to really make a lot more money, I would work in a CPA firm all the time. Okay, so I think I'm very unique on YouTube in what I'm doing, in my purpose, and I talk very plain on here for a reason, because I want people to get it in a common sense way why you're really investing in silver. The house of cards is a virtual reality they're throwing at us. The economy is not real. It's BS. It's got to come down. And if silver even turns out to be a bad investment, say it is, it's going to be a good investment medically, because of what's going to be coming down. If the economy does collapse, one of the biggest problems we're going to have is people not being as healthy and being more susceptible to disease. And silver, colloidal silver, whether it's treating water, treating clothing, treating topical areas in your kitchen or on your floor or whatever, or using it in certain ways to address illnesses in the body, it's going to be vital to your survival. And I think that alone, once people pick up that rationale and that truth, it's going to create a lot of demand right there. And like I pointed out, there is not enough silver to go around, even for that, even if you're talking about a couple ounces per person, even just in the United States. So stick with it and have faith and bring it on.